Success is the easiest thing to create in the world if you know the formula to do it, if you know the steps to make it happen. And today, I want to introduce you to the one variable in the success formula. If you can crack that, you become the person who can grow anywhere and everywhere in the world. You look at anybody who inspires you, any success role model that you have, and you will see that they had this one trait that we are going to talk about. Because, like a formula, if you change just one thing, the entire result can change in mathematics. Success works the same way. And if you can make that one variable work in your favor, like dominoes that fall in line, success and growth and achievement and abundance and fulfillment and everything that you seek will fall in your line. That's the tiny difference that makes the ultimate difference. In fact, you could have everything in your life that's aligned, but if this factor is missing, oh, you are not going to be able to succeed. And that's why it is so important that whether it's in your relationships or whether it's in your career, the moment you master this lens, the moment you master this one idea, you are going to be unstoppable. And that's my guarantee. That's the power that this one principle holds. And before I introduce you to the principle, though, I want to tell you that if you can learn this, and it's very simple, it's very easy, everybody anyways know this, we've been taught about this since we were in the first grade in school, and yet nobody implements it. Why? Because it takes hard work, it takes effort, it takes persistence, and above all, it takes humility that most of us are not willing to embrace. The truth is, in life, a lot of us are living in an entitled way. We're thinking and we're believing, hey, you know what, I deserve everything in the world. I don't want to work for it though, but I deserve it. And that's one of the most deadly attitudes to have. And when we think of it in that way, right, here's the assumption that we will make. The assumption we'll make is, well, look at all the successful and rich people in the world. Are they working for what they want? Are they working all these hours, but they're getting so much more pay than anybody can ever get for the small amount of hours that they're working? And when you make the judgment from just that lens, your position would be right. Yeah, they're not working too hard. Why should I work hard? But let me introduce you to this principle that got them to the place where they can afford to not work this much and still make money. And for that, I want to take the example of Mukesh Ambani, and from there, we will lead into this important principle, this important trait that makes the difference. Now, he's the richest man, not just in India, but in all of Asia. And his net worth currently is 7.35 lakh crores, his personal net worth. Now, a lot of people will look at that. A lot of people will look at his 27-story home in Mumbai, the fact that he travels via helicopter, the fact that he has multiple Rolls Royces, and all that luxury they'll look at, all this money they'll look at, and they'll say, does he really deserve it? Does he even work hard for it? What has he even done? He just inherited a business from his father. He just scaled it up further. And the critics who will say all these things. And then they will say, billionaires shouldn't have this much money. It's not fair. It's not fair to the people who are putting in the efforts in working in the very same companies. But here's my understanding of why he is where he is, and most people are not. And for that, all we need to do is not look at his personal wealth, but look at what he has created in the world in general. So I did these numbers. I looked these numbers up recently and I was surprised. I searched on the internet what has been the lifetime revenue for Reliance Industries. That's the company he owns, right? And the number is anywhere between 110 to 120 lakh crores. His personal net worth, only 7.35 lakh crores. But the value, the revenue, the impact, the growth that his company has created for the hundreds of thousands of employees, for the millions of customers, for the industry that exists across India and the world because of Reliance Group today, that's over 110 lakh crores. If you look at it, his personal net worth is not even 10% of the value and impact and revenue that his company has created over its existence. Now, that's the impact most of us will not look at. We will only look Is he working? Is he not working? Is he getting too much pay? Is he getting too little pay? And we will act entitled. But the question we have to ask is, the work that we are doing versus the work that Mukesh Ambani is doing, what's really the impact of that work on the world? And that's where you'll see the difference. That makes the difference is that all the billionaires, all the people who are on top of the world, all the people who are excelling in their respective fields, they're willing to put their ego down, and they're willing to be humble, and they're willing to put in the extra work, they're willing to put in the extra value. While you are out here, and while a lot of us are out here saying, I'm working these many hours, I'm not getting paid enough for that. If Mukesh Ambani starts to think, I created so much value, I'm not even getting paid 10% of that value, where does the equation go? Where does the whole discussion even end up? But he's not thinking that. In fact, he is happy and he is glad to add more and more and more value. Nobody is asking him to do that. He's still doing it. Now, if he's making money with it, if he's becoming a beneficiary of that, honestly, that's not that bad of a deal, right? You can do that. You can create that value. And when you do so, that's when you attract riches. That's when you attract abundance. That's when you get what you want. And that's the difference that makes the difference. The people who make it to the top, they're willing to go the extra mile. But most of us, we're not. We are already measuring, am I being compensated enough for this? Am I deserving this? Am I not? Oh, they are trying to exploit me and all that stuff. And we'll just go into this negative zone where rather than looking at the blessing of work that we have, we'll only look at ways in which the work is not serving us. And then we'll say, why am I not getting rich? Why is my business not growing? Well, are you adding value? Even if you're not in a business, even if you're in a job, are you going above and beyond? Are you showing up in a way that leads you to the next level? And I know a lot of you will now have one simple justification, and the justification is, well, I'm in a job. Mukesh Ambani is doing a business. He is different. I'm different. Well, I'd like to break that myth for you. Value addition and success, it has nothing to do with the fact of whether you're doing a job or whether you're doing a business. It has nothing to do with the fact of whether you are rich or whether you're poor. It has everything to do with the fact of what is the mindset that you are leading with. And the mindset of successful people is, I have so much abundance of love, joy, value to spread. Even if I'm not paid enough for it right now, I'm going to continue doing it. Even if they ask me to show up just little bit, I will show up way more. I will go above and beyond. I'll deliver. And I'm going to give you an example right now that's going to break all your excuses. Because with Mukesh Ambani, you can still have excuses. But with this example, I can tell you, you can never ever have any excuses left for not adding value in your life, in your work, in any way that you can. Because if you are willing to be successful, you will do it. So, I want to tell you about one of the most inspiring people that I've seen on social media. It's not an influencer, it's not somebody famous, it's not somebody who's an actor or actress, none of that stuff. That person is somebody named Ujjwala Vadekar, who is a Zilla Parishad or government school teacher in the district of Jalgaon in Maharashtra. Now, you tell me first, government school teacher, is she being paid like in the millions? Of course not. Is she getting riches in her life? Of course not. But her definition of success is, am I creating a generation of leaders through her teachings, through her schools? It's been 31 years she has been a government school teacher. She posts about it on Instagram. She shares her videos. You check out her profile, by the way, if you haven't till now. It's amazing. She makes her content in Marathi. So for those of you who don't understand it, there's going to be some subtitles. But go out there, watch that, and you will see what it means to add value. If she wanted to, she could be like any other government school teacher. But you know what she does? She makes sure she takes kids out for field trips. She takes them to different places. She does the expense on her own. The government may not be reimbursing her for this. But why is she doing it? She wants to add value in the kids' lives. She knows that they are coming from small villages. They're coming from environments where they don't have exposure. And if she wants to turn them into future leaders and not just somebody who's repeating the same old cycle of poverty in their lives, she has to expose them to the bright future that exists. She did this recently. I think you'll see this on her profile. She took the kids out on a field trip to a jewelry store so they could, for the first time in their life, see what gold looks like. And the jewelry store staff was so cooperative, they did a whole presentation for the kids on how gold is made, how jewelry is manufactured. They gave them a book each and they gave them each a chocolate. Now, for the kids who live in the remote parts of our nation, for the kids who stay in these environments where luxury or richness or abundance is not even an option, for them, this exposure makes a world of a difference. And you ask anybody who's made it big, you will find out. There was a teacher that believed in them. In my life, it was the same thing that happened. It was because of the teachers who believed in me that I am where I am today. And you must have had the same experience. And she recognizes that value. She sees that if I am showing up for the kids, I know the impact they're going to have. She spends money from her own pocket to get these kids laptops and devices so they can be on par with AI, with technology, with the way things are changing. Is that in her job description? Is the government asking her to do that as a teacher in a government school? No. She's doing it because she wants to, because she knows the value of adding value. And that's the difference that makes the difference. So a lot of you will say, I'm in a private job, I can't really do it. I'm in a government job, I can't really do it. Well, if a government teacher can, in one of the most remote parts of our country, where there's literally no growth in terms of what we see in modern service based cities, if that woman can make this difference over there, what's stopping you? Nothing but your excuses, nothing but your entitlement that I am not deserving enough, or I have not done, or they are not paying me enough, or they are not supporting me enough. If you want to, you will find a way, you will be humble enough. And now the best part is, because Ujwala makes all these videos, she's got 200,000 followers on Instagram. People from all over the nation are now coming together and supporting her. They're supplying her with donations, they're supplying her with old tech they're no longer using, so she can give that to the kids and the kids can continue to learn and grow more. She started as a single woman. Nobody was there in the mission to support her. Today, she has 2 lakh people on social media who are helping her, who are there with her, who are helping her see that finally everything she worked towards for the last 31 years, that did not go to vain, that her work has an impact, that it is changing lives. And kids who have passed out from her classes in like 20 years ago and stuff like that, they make videos and they share the impact that she's had on their life with her. For her, that's success. For her, it's not money. For her, it's not all those other definitions. And it's perfectly fine. Every one of us can have a different definition of success. My question is, are you willing to add at least some value to the world? Are you willing to put your ego down and say, I'm ready to serve? I'm ready to do 10 times more than what I'm even paid for. Not because I want recognition, because I want to have an impact. Because I want to see with my work, with my business, can I take things to the next level? Can I show up? Can I do more? If somebody can do this in a government job, and if somebody at the most richest, highest, most influential level of our nation can do that, there's no reason you can't. I've given you 2 examples, one from the high end of resources and money and power, the other in a place where none of that exists, and yet the impact does, yet the desire to create value does. So, the question I want you to go with today is, how are you creating that impact in your work? Or are you acting like an entitled brat who says, I'm not going to do it? I'm not going to be like this. Why should I do it? If you're doing like that, it's time you change your ways. It's time you learn to get humble, you learn to add more value, even when nobody's asking. And here's the thing, if you want to be paid well in your life, remember this: if you want to have ultimate financial success, if you can solve problems without being asked, if you can solve problems without being obligated, and you do it out of your own volition, there will come a time the world will pay you way more than what is ever justified by the scale of the problems you're solving. And that payment's not just in money, that payment is sometimes in terms of love, in terms of support, in terms of impact, in terms of growth, as you've seen with the example of Ujjwala Wadekar. And Mukesh Ambani got that in terms of money. So, depending on your definition of success, you can lead the way. But my point is this: let's start to get a bit more humble. We've all flown way too high in the sky. It's time to come down. It's time to start adding more value. I hope this gets you to reflect. I hope this gets you to see, am I actually just being entitled, or am I truly doing 10x the value? Because if you are, I'm telling you, the results have no choice but to show up for you. Thank you so much for tuning into today's session. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you once again tomorrow at the same time. That is 8:30 p.m. IST. Bye. Talk to you soon.